Today on CityCast Philly, it's the Friday News Roundup, Eagles edition. I'm joined by our sports contributor, John Barchard, and sports writer for the Philadelphia Tribune, OJ Spivey. It's Friday, February 10th, 2023. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. John, OJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, Trenae, good to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Trenae. Glad to be here.
Yes, guys, it feels like we were just here. 5 years ago, in February of 2018, we all witnessed greatness. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated Tom Brady and those New England Patriots. Do you think that this year, this moment is the same, or is it a little different now that the Eagles are back in the Super Bowl?
I think there's a lot of similarities, but every year is different because you have different players, even though we have a handful of holdovers from 2018, from that Super Bowl. But I think it's just an amazing run. Both runs have been amazing, but different in their own little way. I thought with 2017, even though they got off to a great start, you kind of felt the same type of confidence, but you still wasn't sure going against someone like the New England Patriots and Tom Brady and all the Super Bowls that he's won and everything. But this year, I feel just about as confident about a team in Philadelphia as I have in history. And, and this is going way back to when I was a kid. This is really the first time I felt very confident about a team since the 83 Sixers and the Dr. J and Moses Malone days. And it kind of has that type of vibe for me.
Right. John, what about you?
Trenae, do you hear that? Most confident OJ's ever felt in his life. And that is so weird. And it's so true because I think I know what this is. This is post-Super Bowl Philadelphia Eagles. And we're still not quite sure how to act, but we know we want it. That's where I am at right now. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. I don't believe this is real, even though I've been yelling about Jalen Hurts for like 2 years now, but it's like it's in front of us. It's like, and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith even got way better in the second year too. These guys are all young. They're like, when we wake up after this, no matter what happens on Sunday, the Eagles have a top 10 pick. And they're either picking 31 or 32 along with that. They have young blood, a lot of money, and no competition in the NFC. I'm trying to find that, but it's really hard for me because I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but 49ers players are still complaining about the NFC Championship game today. So it's just
that game was nuts. To lose two quarterbacks, the other quarterback had a concussion. It was insane. It was like, who wrote the script for this?
Arian Foster.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. We're talking scripts. Yeah, so that's been a popular thing too, that the NFL scripted. But just to piggyback on John, this is kind of like a new era. And once we got to sit at the adult table from the kids' table, finally getting a Super Bowl, it's just a different vibe. And sometimes you don't know how to think, but again, you have that confidence that you can not only win one, which we did 5 years ago, you can win again. And, something that you can come to expect now, and especially the way John explained how the team is positioned moving forward.
John and OJ, let's talk about just the overall season, because the season was, after a while, after we start winning a lot, it was like, okay, we keep winning, and it's like, that's what I got used to. So I know, John, you and your team at Bell and the Birdman podcast, y'all traveled to every away game. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that experience. What were fans like in other stadiums? What was that whole experience? Because you had that confidence, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it kind of just kept growing. So, I mean, thanks to our old friend Carson Wentz in Washington in week 3, I think, it's a very dominating performance and 9 sacks and whatever it was. And then it just kind of went up from there. I mean, they did have some odd games. They were in Arizona early in the season. A field goal gets shanked at the last second, and they end up winning it. They've had terrible luck down there, as a franchise, too. So once that started happening, all the fans, it just kind of became a party. And then I'm going to say unfortunately because I don't really care about the Phillies as much as everybody else. But, the Phillies kind of like right when the Houston Texans came around, the World Series is there. And then it's just like, oh, wait, hold on, the Phillies. And everybody kind of forgot about how good the Eagles were. And then Bryce Harper and everybody else unfortunately lost the World Series and woke up and stole a lot of that energy. And then it's like, oh, yeah, what? The Eagles are 14-3? Okay, I guess they're pretty good, and it feels like everybody else was kind of feeling that way towards the end. I don't know if OJ feels the same way, but I really do think the Phillies sucked out the amazement of what's happening with the Eagles.
Yeah, I agree for the most part, and it was kind of tough trying to toggle both the Phillies run and the Eagles starting off undefeated and just saying, hey, this may be a magical year for everyone, and even if you follow the Philadelphia Union with their run. Getting to the championship, and it was a fun year just trying to follow all these teams. But just going back to the Eagles and all, we're just all in anticipation. We're confident. Even some people might even be overconfident, which is okay because again, you have to feel a certain way to say, hey, we have a good quarterback. We have a good nucleus of this team. And going forward, it's a lot to be excited about, win or lose on Sunday.
Awesome. Okay, so let's shift things and talk about just how significant this Super Bowl is with having two Black starting quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. But it's going to be interesting because aren't both of them still kind of recovering from injuries throughout the last couple of games?
Yeah, and especially Patrick Mahomes. I think somebody put it on Ankle Watch, Peter Schrager or somebody from the NFL Network, and that's it's a huge, huge deal. It is, a ton of respect for, dragging himself through all that to go win an AFC Championship game to a point now where they're going to test it on Thursday and Friday. And if his ankle can't really go, they're going to start pulling plays out of the playbook, essentially. So it'd be a huge advantage to the Eagles' defense for sure. The Jalen thing is kind of up and down in terms of you can clearly tell he's still laboring from that. I think he took a couple of really good shots in the 49ers game. So I don't think his deep ball is as crisp as it should be just because his shoulder is still kind of getting back to where it was in the beginning of the season form. So I mean, I think it's pretty advantageous for the Eagles in terms of injuries just alone. The Chiefs are pretty banged up skill position-wise. A lot of their wide receivers are banged up coming into the week. One of their big ones is going to be doubtful for playing that. I believe that's Nicole Harmon, which is one of their speedsters. I mean, OJ, I don't know how you feel, but the injury to Patrick Mahomes alone is a huge advantage swing, but the speed, I guess, for the Chiefs is not as quick as it once was.
Yeah, I agree, John. And I'm a little superstitious when it comes to Mahomes' injury and everything. And I'm like, okay.
Why?
I know he's injured, but, he's still able to make plays. I mean, he can literally, throw a football behind his back and it'll be a completion. But you hope that, the injury is significant enough to where he'll press a little bit, he'll make some mistakes, he'll be able to stay in a pocket a little more, where the Eagles' defensive line can just kind of converge on him and just keep him contained. I don't think there's a way that you can really stop him, even with an injured Mahomes. You just want to try and contain him and just force him to make mistakes and get off the field. And as far as the historical standpoint, being the first time we have two Black starting quarterbacks, it's very significant when you just look at the history of how for the NFL has been around for over 100 years. And we're really just starting within the past 25 years or so, the past quarter of the NFL's existence, to where Black quarterbacks are now getting more opportunities than ever to start and not only start, but get the opportunity to excel in this league. And, going back a quarter century, you've only had a handful of guys like Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, who's in the Hall of Fame, those guys. But as they're coming up in college, they're getting more opportunities in college to be also groomed for the NFL, and they're playing more pro-style offenses where they can not only come into the NFL, but be trained enough to where they can excel and get more opportunities. And also where the game is going today, where you have more mobile quarterbacks, and you have to be, what they say for the everyday job, you have to be more flexible, or the more you can do, the more you can do. So that's what we're seeing as far as that evolution as well.
I also want to point out that Autumn Lockwood, who's the first Black assistant coach for the Eagles, will also be on the sideline, and she is the first Black woman coach in the Super Bowl. Speaking of coaches, I want to shift gears. Sirianni, I love him. But also, this is a big game because Kansas City Chief coach. I think we're familiar with him, right?
Very, very.
How crazy. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is the script for this Super Bowl is insane. Let's talk about the coaches.
Yeah, you couldn't write it any better. Andy Reid, it's not a return, of course, because they're playing in Arizona. But who would have thought that the Eagles get to play for another Lombardi Trophy against our old pal Andy Reid? And
right.
Andy Reid, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame eventually. He's been a great coach. I believe he's won over 100 games with both franchises, which is significant. That'll probably get anybody in the Hall of Fame. He won a Super Bowl a few years ago, 5 straight years in the championship game, and now his his fourth Super Bowl appearance, I believe. So that's very significant. But on the Eagles side, and I know John can piggyback on this. When Nick Sirianni first came around, the press conference wasn't all that great. And Nick comes off as kind of goofy sometimes, which I think is kind of cool because I laugh about it, within the press conferences and everything. But when you talk to the players and you're in the locker room and all, the roster, these guys, they respect them. And more so than anything else, they respect him as a football coach, as a football guy and a leader of men.
Yeah, and it's pretty insane from last year to this year. Speaking of that, I mean, we were on the lines of like Nick Sirianni might be a Ted Lasso type of character last year, and now he's like, hey, this guy's pretty much a bleep hole. Like, what's the deal? Why is he being so flashy in front of the camera? And it's just like such a shift from that. But one of the guys that I've always liked to compare him to is Dick Vermeil, and that's a lot of what I see now. It's just like a new age version of that. Dick Vermeil is this guy from California, UCLA, completely trying to turn around an Eagles organization that was in the dumps forever, and I think that's kind of more or less what he is. And it's honestly, it's pretty scary too, looking across and seeing like Nick Sirianni versus Andy Reid, and man, I think he's a better coach than Bill Belichick, and history will end up reflecting that. A much better teacher, so much more innovative in terms of where the game went. And, in speaking of how historical this is for 2 black quarterbacks to be there, Andy Reid embracing the black quarterback more than anybody
Absolutely.
that I think I've seen in the NFL. So I think he's pushed the game forward in so many different ways and has really put a sickle down to all those stupid buzzwords that NFL scouts have used over the years in terms of like, this guy's not a pocket passer or whatever, and basically just saying, that guy's black, that guy's white. You hear those phrases all the time, and it really shortened people's viewpoints on what black quarterbacks could do, for arbitrary reasons, which is really absurd. So because of that, where the game is now with both guys, I think they carry that spirit immensely. Like they allow people to go be themselves. It's very much, why both teams are very successful and why they are almost identical in success.
I know we talked about quarterbacks, coaches. We talked about wide receivers a little bit too. Are there any other standout players? And we're going to take it back to the Eagles bench. Are there any other standout players from the Eagles that you really want to focus in on this final game?
For me, Hassan Reddick. He's been a difference maker on defense. He gets the team, not only does he sack the quarterback, he gets the team the ball almost half as many times as he sacks the quarterback. And you saw last week or 2 weeks ago against San Francisco how, they foolishly put a tight end on Hassan Reddick to try and block him, which was, John talked about them crying about losing the game and the script and everything like that. But that was, for me, that was coaching malpractice. We talked about how good Andy Reid is, how good Nick Sirianni is. And I know Andy is good at scheming, and he loves offensive linemen. He loves, that type of game as far as the trenches and everything. But he's going to have to do some extra work to try to keep Hassan Reddick from Patrick Mahomes, because we know he has wreaked havoc all season long. And he's also ticked off that he's not a Defensive Player of the Year finalist as well. So
interesting. John, what about you?
Well, and just to put a pin on that, I'm not a betting person, but if I was, I might put a few shekels down on him winning Super Bowl MVP. Defensive player hasn't won in a very long time, but man, he has been an absolute nightmare this year, more so than I could have possibly imagined with the offseason signing. But to me, it's still obvious from the day that it happened in April. This is about A.J. Brown. This is why they're in the Super Bowl and what they're going to do to a pretty young Kansas City Chiefs secondary. Between that and the obvious of Hurts, I think that those are the two that are going to have to go win this football game.
So over this past week, we know that both teams, players, coaches, they've been bombarded with media. There's so much hype about this game. Rihanna's going to be performing. It's going to be a concert. It's going to be mayhem. The tickets, I looked at the tickets. Oh, my God. It was like the row all the way at the top. I was like, let me just see. Maybe I could do. No, it was $3,000. I was like, damn, I should have saved. But can y'all just tell us, how much pressure do the players or the coaches are they facing these last couple of days?
Man, I don't even know if there is a lot of pressure at this moment. I'm sure Nick Sirianni is staying up late at night eating Rice Krispie treats and stuffed crust Pizza Hut or whatever he does to kind of cope with all this. But they seem as calm and cool as possible. Even I think I saw some players saying they're playing Uno and spades, and honestly, I don't know how that relaxes anybody, because that Uno or spades always starts a fight. But whatever you got to do to calm down is fine. But I don't know, OJ. Everybody seems pretty calm on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I agree. They seem very, very loose, having fun. Doing their best to have fun with the media, because I know that's a chore for both teams, actually. And again, they have the experience. They have a handful of guys. They have a veteran presence in that locker room with Brandon Graham, with Jason Kelsey, with Lane Johnson. So whatever nerves the younger players have, even with Jalen Hurts, his first time being in this atmosphere. But again, he's played in big games, the college championship games, the college football playoffs. Mm-hmm. They're almost as popular as the Super Bowl, because it's a lot of media, and it's only going to get larger, right? When they expand the team. So, he's not so much immune to the atmosphere and the moment being too big for him. And again, Sirianni, he has an experienced coaching staff. The organization themselves, just, it's 5 years may seem like a long time and everything, but it's pretty much the same regime with the ownership, Howie Roseman, the general manager, and everything. These guys know what to do. They know how to navigate. They've been here before. So I don't see that as a problem with the pressure. Family can always get in the way, of course, because everybody wants a ticket. Your third cousin, first removed, they want to want a ticket and everything. But, they know how to handle it at the end of the day.
All right, I want to talk about, usually on Friday News Roundups, we talk about headlines and, news stories of the week. One news story that I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to navigate this. All school district schools and offices will be open for a 2-hour delay on Monday, the day after the Super Bowl. What do y'all feel about that? I think it's the first time they've done that.
Right. Well, I think it's a matter, again, I'm a little superstitious about it, and, talk about the parade, no leaks, no anything like that. I already have people ask me, what day you think the parade is going to be?
Thursday.
Yeah, so
that's what I think too.
Yes. So yes, but if the Eagles do win Sunday night, all the parents are going to be wasted. Maybe some of the seniors in high school will be wasted. No one's going to want to go to class at our at our city colleges, and also, hey, why not a 2-hour delay?
I just want to. Can the employers get a cancellation as well for the 2-hour delay?
Right. Everyone just let's just have a day off.
Yes.
Everyone, day off.
Take the whole week off, by the way.
Exactly.
Take it at least till the parade.
Might as well.
Everyone's off until Friday. And if you don't want to come in then, that's fine too.
If the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, everyone should get the week off after, no matter what. To for joy, for depression, for whatever it is to cope. And I got to give credit to, I think Kevin Kincaid brought this up. I honestly can't answer the question. Is there any reason why the Super Bowl should not be played on a Saturday? It's just put it on Saturday.
That would make more sense.
A whole Sunday to recover, and then we can eat the leftover Super Bowl food. Oh my gosh, we're good then. No more 2-hour delays on Monday.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds like a plan.
That's a good. Yep. Okay, so before I let y'all go, where are you watching the game? What's on the menu? More superstitions? Give it to me.
Well, I don't know if this is breaking OJ's superstition or not, but I'm gonna be as close to Broad Street as possible, watching the game.
Yes. Finally, someone. Yes, let's go to Broad Street.
Yes, I'm just hanging out with my good friend Vince Quinn, Taylor Cordatis, Bell and the Birdmen podcast. Will be live streaming in his apartment, eating, screaming, and I'm gonna go find OJ and Trenae in somewhere around City Hall. And I'm going to dump champagne all over their head.
I just need to touch my toe on Broad Street. Just let me touch my toe.
I might even, try to find a hotel downtown and everything and see and, might try to show my face, afterwards. I'm just excited. I'm excited for the team. I'm excited for the city to have the second time around. And I just want to, be able to say like DJ Khaled, just, say another one.
CityCast Philly sports contributor John Barchard and sports writer OJ Spivey, thank you so much for joining me on CityCast Philly.
Thank you, Trenae.
Trenae, they're bleeping winning. Go Birds.
Go Birds. Yep. They got it. We got this.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Our producers are Abby Fritz, Lizzie Goldsmith, Natalie Rivera, and Mallory Falk. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Brittany Valentine, with help from Natalia Aldana. And our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from all the kimonos. If you enjoyed this show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter. We'll be back Monday morning with more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe. Go Birds! Can we add the Sixers in there too? They weren't trying to get us a championship yet, but we were doing pretty well, right?
To be determined.